Hey everybody, Will here with Intoxicating Ideas. Um, I want to go over another existential idea today. It's been exactly 2 months since my dad died from cancer, and I've been thinking a lot about, life, death, the soul. And so today I want to focus the conversation on the soul. Now, my big question is why do we have one if we do? And from where did it originate? Um, there was a Dr. McDougall back in 1907 who experimented on this, and it was just, from what I've read, one person, but essentially had this dying individual on a table, as accurately measured table as they could have back in 1907. And through his last dying hours, weighed him and saw what happened. And for the first 3 hours, apparently, he lost, was it about a gram that they equated to dehydration. And then around the 3.5 hour mark, essentially the patient was deceased, died, and at that moment lost 21 grams precisely in an instant. Now, the doctor tried to disprove this, checked the lungs, tried to, release any tension in the lungs to see if there was anything going on there. Could not figure it out. This guy just, when he died, lost 21 grams in an instant. So, excuse me. So the Dr. McDougall theorized that the essence of the soul, which as an energy should have a mass if it has an energy, left the body and weighs 21 grams. Now, what's funny about that, because there are a lot of 21s that happen within life. It's also technically a vortex number divisible by 3. So it, kind of has some relevance behind it. And even though 21 grams doesn't seem like a lot for the soul, that's, relative, essentially, because 21 grams of one substance could mean very little compared to 21 grams of another substance being a whole lot. So that's here nor there, but his big subject is he also tested animals. Primarily dogs. He tested 15 dogs during the experiment and found that there was absolutely nothing lost at the dog's death. So from there, went to the animals don't have a soul, human beings do. Well, the question there is, if the theory of evolution is true, which scientifically it's been told to be, we were descendants, or our descendants are apes, so we evolved from the ape. However, ape's an animal. If the ape doesn't have a soul, where did we get one? So that's kind of one of the big questions in there, is that at what point did the human, or any of our devolved versions, obtain this soul, get ensoulment. Now, I've got, my own questions about that. Nothing obviously solid because there's no proof of anything. But if it's a certain part of the brain or whatnot, which is what most people expect, there's other creatures with same parts of the brain that we have. And right, so if we gained a soul at a certain evolutionary point, why haven't other animals? And if we got this far, like, why are apes still just apes and there's no remnants of the evolved versions of us? Like, how are there still the lower class that have nothing and are still the exact same as they were, compared to just, boom, evolved humans, here we are, motherfuckers, and there's no Neanderthal version at all, like no medium. So no way to figure that one out. So the other thing is, all right, well, what if we have a soul because we're not actually from here? The Sumerians tablets, and transcribed by oh Lord, I can't think of his name right now. It'll come back. But transcribed by a guy who spent his entire life trying to figure out what the Nephilim were, which in the Hebrew Bible, I guess, or if I screwed that up, were the giants. But he spent his entire life trying to transcribe these 22,000 tablets that the Sumerians created, and in there it says that an alien race, the Anunnaki, came down, interacted with the Neanderthal species that we had, and through genetic manipulation created us from 80% of the Anunnaki, only 20% of the Neanderthal. So if we have a soul, I mean, is it just fair to say, and that is the possibility, that we were created from an alien race? The only reason we have the soul is because of those aliens? Because there's no traces of the Neanderthal at all. Granted, there have been, extinction level events that have happened multiple times, but why is it just we survived? Why is it that none of the Neanderthals survived? So, from where the soul comes is a very big thing for me. And I'm curious too, like if doctors have done experiments on, the death, has anybody experimented on a woman who's pregnant and finding out what do they actually gain just a random 21 grams in the middle of their pregnancy? So, yeah, I mean, just the whole idea of us having a soul and, like my baby girl here not having one is baffling. Also, I feel like a lot of people confuse having a soul with having intelligence, and they think that if you have one, you have the other. Certain people, Jane Goodall, who's spent her entire life studying primates, has mentioned, the humanity of the apes and, witnessed them, watching sunrises, sunsets, and showing an emotional reaction almost. Like from an animal that doesn't have the intelligence that even the most basic human does for the most part, like them seeing that sun, they could have a completely different thing going on in their head, and it's totally irrelevant to actual intelligence and them showing affection. So I don't see how intelligence and ensoulment could ever be correlated with that one. But that's the thing, like, if we do have a soul, why is it just us that has a soul? And even churches believe in the evolutionary process. So if we did evolve from the Neanderthal, like, at what point did we just automatically go from soulless dolls to ensouled human beings with that essence? Other theories about the soul is that it's pertained within the lungs, the heart, and the pineal gland. But we're not the only species that has those three, and we're not even the species that has the largest pineal gland, like, or heart, lungs, etc. So why, again, does it come down to, like, okay, if we were to be the ones that have souls, but all these other beings that have the same organs and even larger organs, why don't they? So, that's just some of my thought about the soul and, questions about it, I guess, more than anything. Maybe if we do have a soul and we die, we find out immediately and are empowered with ultimate knowledge because we go back to the source. Or we actually don't have a soul, we're all full of shit and are just wanting to make ourselves feel better and give ourselves closure for what could happen in an afterlife. And Rick and Morty's right, when you die it just goes blank and everything's done. Who knows? Obviously we all like to think there's an afterlife and we're all going to do well with it, but I mean, if the alternative is going to sleep and it just being a big blank and you don't wake up, does it really matter? So yeah, those are some of my questions on the soul. I'm sure there's plenty in there I forgot because I'm slightly baked. But yeah, next video I want to make for my last existential one for, this set is going to be on the afterlife. I've got a lot of thoughts on that, a lot of questions more. Hope you guys enjoyed all the videos so far, and yeah, I'll be pumping out another video on a physical product for my next one, probably here in the next day or two. Have a good day, alright?